Everybody needs a perfect chocolate chip cookie in their life, whether you are gluten-free, grain-free, or paleo, and so I'm going to show you how to make them today. I'm Danielle Walker from AgainstAllGrain.com, and I'm happy to show you about my favorite real deal chocolate chip cookie recipes. So we're starting with just a few simple ingredients and a food processor. I like to use a food processor for these because it grinds the flour up really finely, like a all-purpose flour, so it helps get that texture and consistency that you want in a chocolate chip cookie. So we're starting with some palm shortening. It's important to find sustainably sourced palm shortening. You could also use unsalted grass-fed butter here if you'd like, or you could use ghee as well. I don't suggest coconut oil in this because it will make them a little bit too oily and dense. So you want to stick with one of those few that I mentioned first. And then we've got some coconut crystals, or palm sugar, it's also called, and a little bit of raw honey. I like to use a lighter colored honey just because the flavor's a little bit more mild and won't overpower the cookie, but really any honey will do. This is just 2 tablespoons. We used a 1/4 cup of the coconut crystals. And we're just going to pop the lid on there and cream the sugars with the butter substitute. Okay, next up we're going to add 1 egg. Process that again for just about 15 seconds. All right, and then we're going to add our grain-free flour substitutes. So one of my favorites is almond flour, and you really want to make sure that you get a good quality almond flour. You want a very, very fine grind. My favorite brands are Welby's and Honeyville. You want it to be kind of like a powdered consistency. Some of the brands that you can buy in the bulk sections at health food stores will be a little bit too coarse and they won't make these cookies as good. So make sure to try to find one of these. We have 1.5 cups of almond flour, and then just 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. It doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it's plenty. It's very absorbent because it's just dehydrated coconut meat, so it sucks up all of the moisture, so that's really all you need. And then we have a little bit of sea salt because the chocolate chip cookie without sea salt is just not a good chocolate chip cookie in my opinion, and a little bit of baking soda. And then we'll do 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All right, and then we're going to let that process for a good 30 seconds or so until the dough is really smooth. All right, that looks great. We're going to stir the chocolate chips in by hand, so just remove that food processor blade. This can be done in a stand mixer or even just by hand if you want as well. They won't come out quite as fluffy and smooth because you're not going to have this blade grinding up the flours, but it absolutely can work. And then I like to do a mix of different chocolate. So I've got some mini chocolate chips in here that are a little bit lighter in cacao, and then I've got a really rich dark chocolate chip. I love the difference in the flavors in the cookie. You could also just grab your favorite bar of dark chocolate if you'd like and chop that up. Okay. Make sure those chocolate chips are dispersed evenly so one lucky kid doesn't get a cookie full of chocolate chips and the other one gets one without any at all. My 5-year-old goes through the bag of these that we keep in the freezer and picks the one with the most chocolate chips. And so the ones that are usually left at the end, which my husband and I tend to sneak, don't have nearly as many chocolate chips in them. He's pretty good at singling them out. Okay. And then I have a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. So for grain-free baked goods, I like to use parchment paper because the doughs can be quite a bit more sticky than conventional doughs. And I've got my handy dandy cookie scoop here. I remember the days of using 2 spoons back when I was younger and, having to try to get it off each spoon and it'd get stuck to the other spoon. This is such a simple contraption, but I'm telling you, it has changed my cookie making life. So these don't spread all that much. You can space them a little bit closer together than you would your conventional chocolate chip cookie. And this recipe makes about 14 cookies, depending of course on what size you use. These are about golf ball sized. When I first created this recipe, we became addicted very quickly. And I popped them in the freezer in hopes of not eating them. And then I realized that they're actually just as good straight from the freezer, frozen, as they are fresh. So if you're having trouble only eating 1 or 2, don't put them in the freezer because it doesn't help. And if you do put them in the freezer, might I suggest sandwiching some dairy-free vanilla ice cream between 2 frozen cookies. Trust me, you won't regret it. All right, so those are all out, and then I'm going to grab 1 more piece of parchment paper and put it on top. So because these don't spread, I like to spread them before they go in the oven. So I just am using a measuring cup. Anything with a flat bottom will work. So a glass would be fine, a flat spatula would be fine. We're just gonna go through and push these down so that we have nice flat cookies. Of course, you can bake them as mounds if you'd like. They'll be quite a bit more doughy in the center, so if that's what you like, you're welcome to do that. But these will puff up slightly. They won't expand out, but they'll be perfectly baked in the middle. And just give that parchment a little tug. And we're all set. So I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and I'm just gonna pop those in for about 10 minutes. It smells so good in here. My little guy's gonna be so excited when he gets back from school. Just pour a nice cold glass of some almond milk and stack a few of these on a plate for he and I to share as soon as he gets back. They're slightly crispy on the outside, warm and ooey gooey and chocolatey on the inside, just like a good chocolate chip cookie should be. And they are so good, if not better than the real deal. I hope you guys give these cookies a try in your own kitchen and try not to eat them all in one sitting. And if you like this recipe, you can find the entire thing on my blog, againstallgrain.com, which is linked above, or in my first cookbook, Against All Grain. Please join me on my YouTube channel by hitting the red subscribe button so you don't miss any future recipes or videos. And you can find me on all social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.